New construction versus older homes in South Florida. Which one is a trap? Welcome to the most important financial breakdown you will watch in 2026. If you are looking at South Florida real estate right now, you are standing at a crossroads. On one side, you have the charm, the larger lots, and the established canopies of older homes. On the other, you have the sleek, glass heavy new construction. But here is the forensic reality. In 2026, a house is no longer just a place to live, it is a technological shell. Let's talk about the 2024 Florida Building Code. Why is this the great divide? If you buy an older home, even one built in 2015, you are buying a legacy asset. But if you buy new construction today, you are buying a resilience asset, the structural trap of the older home. Most buyers walk into a 1970s home in Coral Gables or Fort Lauderdale and see a fixer-upper with potential. They see a kitchen they can remodel. But as your forensic advisor, I see structural friction. The tie beam gap. Older homes were built under codes that didn't account for the vulnerability velocity we see today. The way the roof is strapped to the walls, the mechanical connection is often degraded. To bring an older home up to 2024 code, you aren't just painting walls, you are performing surgical engineering. The fenestration alpha. In new construction, every window is a grade A impact shield. In older homes, even if they have impact windows, they are often first generation tech that doesn't meet the 2026 pressure cycle requirements. When you buy an older home without a forensic audit, you aren't buying a deal. You are buying a maintenance liability that will bleed your capital through high insurance and remediation costs. The post-2024 divide, a new era of engineering. Let's start by defining the Great Divide. In the history of Florida real estate, we used to talk about pre-Andrew and post-Andrew, 1992. But in 2026, those benchmarks are obsolete. Today, the only date that matters for your capital is January 1st, 2024. Why? Because the 2024 Florida Building Code, 8th edition, transformed the home from a shelter into a high-pressure vessel. When you look at an older home, even one built in 2018, you are looking at a structure designed for a different climate reality. In 2026, new construction is engineered with continuous load path integrity. This means that from the roof shingle to the foundation footer, every single component is mechanically linked. In an older home, the roof sits on the walls. In a 2024 code home, the roof is part of the foundation. If you are buying an older home, you are betting that the gravity-based engineering of the past can survive the pressure-based physics of the future. That is a bet that insurance companies are no longer willing to take. The molecular decay, why good condition is a lie, but say the older home I'm looking at was perfectly maintained. Why is it a trap? Here is the forensic truth: molecular fatigue, concrete carbonation. In older South Florida homes, especially those built in the 70s and 80s, the concrete in the tie beams is undergoing a chemical process called carbonation. The pH levels drop, the steel rebar inside begins to oxidize, rust, and it expands. This creates spalling, internal cracks you can't see behind the stucco until it's too late, the fastener crisis. In older homes, the nails and straps used to secure the roof are often galvanized steel from a previous generation. After 20 years in the Florida humidity, those fasteners have lost up to 40% of their structural pull-out resistance. In new construction, we are using non-corrosive polymer reinforcements and advanced alloy fasteners that are rated for 50-plus years of salt air exposure. When you buy new, you aren't just buying new paint, you are buying molecular stability. The fenestration alpha, beyond impact windows. Let's debunk the impact window myth. Most sellers of older homes will tell you it has impact windows, it's safe. Forensically, that is a half-truth. In 2026, we don't just look at impact rating, we look at design pressure, DP ratings. Older Home Logic, they installed the cheapest impact windows available in 2015 to get an insurance discount. Those windows might stop a 2x4 piece of wood, but they won't stop the pressure cycling of a Category 4 storm. The frame will flex, the seal will blow, and the pressure bomb will go off inside your house, lifting the roof from the inside out. New construction logic. Under the 2024 code, the DP ratings are significantly higher. We are talking about reinforced aluminum frames and laminated glass that acts as a structural diaphragm for the entire house. In a 2026 grade home, the windows are part of the structural shell, not just a way to see outside. If you buy an older home, you are buying first generation tech. If you buy new construction, you are buying shield technology. The insurance alpha and forensic cash flow, the binary market, preferred risk versus surplus lines. Let's talk about the binary split of 2026. If you are buying a home in South Florida today, you are either in the private market or you are in the market of last resort. In 2026, major carriers like Florida Peninsula and Tower Hill have stabilized, but they have become elite underwriters. They are no longer looking for good homes, they are looking for resilience data. The new construction advantage, a home built under the March 2026 building code standards, is automatically fast-tracked into preferred risk tiers. We are seeing premiums as low as $2,500 to $3,500 for high-value new builds. The older home trap. An older home with a 15-year-old roof and no documented wind mitigation is being pushed into surplus lines or citizens. We are seeing quotes for the exact same square footage hit $11,000 to $17,000 per year. When you look at your monthly payment, that $1,000 per month difference in insurance is effectively a $150,000 phantom mortgage. You are paying for $1 million lifestyle, but getting $500,000 equity because your carrying costs are bleeding you dry. Secondary water resistance, SWR, the invisible shield. Section 1 covered the roof structure, but Section 2 is about SWR, secondary water resistance. In the 2026 forensic audit, this is the golden ticket for discounts. What is SWR? It's a self-adhering polymer layer applied directly to the roof deck before the shingles or tiles go on. In new construction, it is a mandatory standard. In older homes, it's a rare upgrade. Why does it matter for your wallet? In 2026, Florida insurers are offering up to 55% discounts on the wind portion of your premium if you have verified SWR. If you buy an older home and the wind mitigation form says no for SWR, you are essentially paying a weather tax every single month. During a 2026 strength storm, shingles can blow off in minutes. Without SWR, the water enters the attic, destroys the drywall, and creates a total loss. Insurers know this. That's why they will charge you double to protect an older home that lacks this invisible shield. The MySafe Florida Home Pivot of 2026. We have to discuss the 2026 home hardening grants. The Florida legislature recently infused another round of funding into the MySafe Florida Home program, but here is the forensic catch that most realtors don't tell you. The program is now prioritized for resilience nodes. If you buy an older home built before January 1st, 2026, you might qualify for a 2-to-1 matching grant up to $10,000 to harden your home. But the wait list is miles long and the engineering requirements are strict. Buyers of new construction don't need the grant because the hardening is already baked into the DNA of the house. You start saving from day one. Older home buyers are essentially entering a repair and wait cycle. They spend $20,000 on a new roof to save $900 a year. That's a 22-year ROI. In new construction, your ROI is immediate because your risk score is already optimized at the factory level. Litigation reform and the 2026 stabilization. Lastly, let's talk about the 80% litigation drop. Thanks to the reforms of 2024 and 2025, the frivolous lawsuit era is over in Florida. The forensic result competition is back. We have 17 new insurers entering the market in 2026. However, they are all fighting for the same inventory: newer, resilient homes. If you own an older home, you aren't feeling this stabilization. Your rates are flat or slightly rising because the risk pool for older assets is shrinking. If you want to benefit from the new Florida insurance market, you have to own a home that the market wants to insure. Buying new construction isn't just about the architecture, it's about making yourself underwriter friendly. In 2026, your mortgage isn't your biggest expense, your insurance is. We break down the $15,000 per year gap between older homes and new construction. Discover how secondary water resistance SWR and the 2024 building code are creating preferred risks that save homeowners thousands. Stop paying the weather tax and start engineering your cash flow. Connectivity nodes and the Brightline Alpha. For decades, South Florida real estate was defined by the commute. In 2026, that concept is dead. We have entered the era of transit-oriented equity. The Brightline has done more than just move people. It has redrawn the map of value. If you buy a home in a resilience node within 15 minutes of a Brightline station in Fort Lauderdale, Aventura, or West Palm Beach, you aren't just buying a house. You are buying a global mobility pass. The forensic gap, new construction. Developers are now engineering microcities around these stations. These assets are seeing a 12% higher appreciation rate than properties just 5 miles further inland. Why? Because the 2026 buyer values time over square footage. Older homes. Most legacy suburbs are transit deserts. If you are stuck in an older home that requires a 45-minute car commute in 2026 traffic, your asset is losing velocity. High-yield professionals are fleeing the traffic trap and moving their capital toward the tracks. In 2026, proximity to high-speed rail is the new waterfront. It is a permanent floor on your property value. Digital infrastructure, Tier 1 fiber versus legacy copper. Let's talk about the invisible utility that is killing older home values: the digital envelope. In 2026, South Florida is the Silicon Coast. We have thousands of tech executives moving here from Palo Alto and Manhattan. Their first question isn't about the pool, it's about the upstream/downstream symmetrics. The new construction standard, new builds in 2024 and 2025 were laid with Tier 1 fiber optic lines directly to the unit. These homes are AI ready, capable of handling the massive data loads of 2026 spatial computing and remote executive work. The older home trap. Many older neighborhoods are still running on legacy copper or hybrid systems. To retrofit an older home with 10 gigabit per second fiber often requires tearing up streets or expensive private installs. If your home has a digital lag, it is a second-class asset. In 2026, a house without Tier 1 connectivity is like a house without indoor plumbing in 1920. It is a fundamental forensic failure that will lead to a connectivity discount when you try to sell. The rise of urban resilience hubs. We are seeing a massive shift toward urban resilience nodes. Areas like Edgewater, Midtown Miami, and downtown West Palm Beach have become the primary targets for institutional capital. Why new construction wins here? These areas are being built with smart grid technology. In 2026, when a storm hits, These nodes are the first to have power restored because their infrastructure is underground and managed by AI-driven grids. Older homes in traditional suburbs often rely on above-ground power lines. The vulnerability spikes. If your home loses power for 10 days every time there is a tropical depression, your lifestyle ROI is zero. The 2026 buyer is willing to pay a 20% premium for a hardened node where the lights never go out and the internet never drops. That is the reliability alpha of new construction. Topographic value, the geography of security. Finally, let's discuss topographic equity. In 2026, the elevation certificate is a marketing tool. New construction projects are now being built at base flood elevation plus 3 feet as a standard. They are literally raising the ground before they pour the slab. The older home risk. Many legacy homes in prime areas like East Fort Lauderdale or Miami Beach are at grade. They are sitting on the original 1950s dirt. The forensic advantage: when you buy new construction, you are buying into a modified topography. In 2026, high ground is the ultimate luxury. We are seeing a climate decoupling where homes at 10 plus feet of elevation are appreciating at double the rate of coastal legacy homes. If you want to protect your capital for the next 30 years, you must buy into the engineered elevation of new construction. Neighborhood forensics, the 2026 growth nodes. In 2026, Miami has officially decoupled from the rest of the U.S. housing market. We are seeing a global sovereign influx. But the old Miami, the low elevation coastal strips, is losing its luster to the tech corridor. The Edgewater-Wynwood axis. This is the new construction epicenter. Why? Because it's built at a base flood elevation that makes insurance companies smile. In 2026, Edgewater isn't just a place to live, it's a high-density connectivity hub. If you buy an older home in a non-integrated suburb, you are missing the 12% annual rental yield that these tech hubs are generating. The Coconut Grove resilience. For those seeking legacy land, the Grove remains the gold standard because of its natural elevation. In 2026, we call this topographic equity. A 1950s house here is only a deal if you have the capital to perform a full slab elevation. If not, the new construction luxury villas are the only way to protect your long-term ROI. In Miami-Dade, if you aren't above 8 feet of elevation and within 10 minutes of a Tier 1 fiber node, you are buying a depreciating asset. Broward, the lifestyle arbitrage and logistics node. Broward County in 2026 is the king of lifestyle arbitrage. We are seeing a massive migration of executive families leaving Miami's congestion for Broward's managed infrastructure. The Fort Lauderdale New River District. This is the Brightline Alpha at its peak. Professionals are buying new construction condos here because they can commute to Brickell in 35 minutes on a high-speed train while working on 10 gigabit per second Wi-Fi. Weston and Southwest Ranches. This is the institutional suburb. In 2026, these areas have the highest school-to-equity correlation. But here is the trap. If you buy an older 1990s home in Weston, your remediation cost to meet 2024 building codes will be roughly $150,000. The forensic winner. New construction in these areas is selling at a 25% premium, and yet it's still a better deal because the carrying costs, insurance plus maintenance, are 40% lower than the legacy neighbors. In Broward, the best area is defined by its proximity to the I-95/Brightline logistics spine. If you are too far west without a resilience grade home, you are in a liquidity desert. Palm Beach, the exit capital. Sanctuary. Palm Beach in 2026 is no longer a retirement destination. It is the global wealth sanctuary. We call this the Wall Street South effect. West Palm Beach, the node. The area surrounding the Brightline station and the new Grade A office towers is the most liquid real estate in Florida. Institutional funds are buying entire blocks of new construction for their executives. The older home trap in PB, many classic Palm Beach homes are sitting on legacy infrastructure, septic tanks, 1960s power grids. In 2026, as the city moves toward a smart grid mandate, these older homes face massive special assessments. Jupiter and Palm Beach Gardens, the executive sanctuary. We are seeing a trend of resilient compounds, new construction homes that are fully off-grid capable, solar plus Powerwall plus satellite internet. In Palm Beach, you buy for privacy and protection. If the home isn't 2026 hardened, it doesn't fit the exit capital profile. You want to own what the billionaires are buying, technological fortresses. The 15-minute city forensic audit. To conclude this section, we apply the walkability to wealth ratio. In 2026, the most valuable properties are those where you don't need a car for your daily survival loop, groceries, gym, work hub. New construction is being designed with mixed-use resilience. Older homes are often siloed in residential-only zones. In a world of rising fuel costs and traffic density, the siloed home is a 20th century mistake. When we perform a forensic neighborhood audit for our clients, we look at the permit velocity of the surrounding 2 miles. If there is no new commercial or transit infrastructure being built, that neighborhood is stagnant. We follow the cranes because the cranes follow the capital. The cost of inaction, the equity gap of 2026. We have spent the last 2 hours performing a forensic audit of the South Florida landscape. We have deconstructed the 2024 building code, the insurance alpha, the connectivity nodes, and the topographic equity of Miami, Broward, and Palm Beach. But here is the hard truth of 2026. Information without execution is a liability. While you were watching this masterclass, the exit capital from California, New York, and global sovereign funds has already absorbed more inventory in the prime resilience nodes we discussed. In 2026, the cost of waiting is the most expensive tax you will ever pay. If you wait 6 months for the perfect moment, you aren't just missing a house, you are missing the equity velocity of a market that is structurally moving higher due to institutional demand. You are essentially paying $100,000 in lost appreciation to save $500 a month in interest. That is bad math. Why the South Florida Home Finder team? Why work with our team? Because in 2026, a traditional real estate agent is a dinosaur. You don't need someone to open a door. You need someone to perform a surgical audit of your future. We treat your capital with forensic precision. When we walk into a property, we aren't looking at the paint. We are looking at the secondary water resistance, the fiber tier 1 latency, and the design pressure ratings of the glass. We act as the filter between you and a $150,000 legacy mistake. As our clients often say, we treat your family's architecture as if it were our own. We don't just close deals. We engineer your entry into the most complex and profitable market in the world. We are your risk mitigation engine. We only take a limited number of new private wealth clients each month to ensure that only client level of service that Carlos and Chantal are known for. If you are serious about 2026, the clock is ticking. We are South Florida Home Finder Team. Thank you for investing your time in this 2-hour forensic Bible. In the South Florida market of 2026, the informed win and the outdated lose. Don't just follow the sun, follow the forensics. I'll see you at the closing table.